we've never shared our work with anybody before this. That's the first time we've ever...
How did that feel then?
That was very strange. It was quite fast. For me, it was quite fast to what we would normally do.
It's a bit of let's get it done for you.
Yeah, there was a little bit of the, which came out in the show.
Yeah, get out of your head, stuff like
Yeah.
that, yeah. Because you're kind of fighting those two things, yeah.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
There's a bit of all that's interesting, what's next?
Yeah.
I don't normally think that so much. I might think it after in the reflection, but for you, it's like, oh that's interesting. Oh, they might like that. That's interesting. Oh, that's a bit much. You know, it's a bit of that going on.
I liked it when you kind of lost yourselves, because you did. Because there were times when you did, when you were, it felt like you kind of had to do something, but and only very slightly. But it didn't matter because then you knew when you did that, you had to lose yourself again. And when you lost yourself, that was right. That's when it became very ritualistic.
And that's the falling down that you can do, I think, which is like, oh, who cares what?
Then it didn't matter. And it didn't matter. That was the whole point. And it's strange because you're sharing something that's really quite personal in a group setting, which demands different things. So you're kind of fighting against those two extremes all the time. But you know, I found it really interesting in the way in which you managed to fight against them and just let them go.
It's really, for me, it's a really interesting experiment, like, that we couldn't get without you actually being with us. It highlights so much about whether you're in it or not, or whether you're in your body or not, or that struggle. Do you
feel any pressure to perform?
And to really, like, it was nice articulating it to you, because that helped a little bit almost, that sort of validated that situation a little bit. And then I'm resistant of it. So I kept falling off the notes, but I kept falling off the notes more like I'm falling off the notes to resist it, rather than what I might probably do is just I might find it more. It might be it's in the body, you find it. Probably the other way to do it is to set you all up in the space, so we're all in that space, not particularly now, with that level of trust. And then we all come from the inside out, or be.
I think we'd shortcutted into the actual, what you call technically the impro work. That would come after a long lying down, breathing, making all of the things that you do to warm yourself up. But within a trance, I hesitate to use the word trance because it's got all sorts of connotations, but in a kind of very mindful space, so that you're not, that for me, a piece of performance work and the work that I've made, I've always wanted it to be from the moment, from when you arrive at the theatre space, what's going on in the foyer, to how the audience is then taken into the space. So for me, everything counts, the journey there and all the rest of it. So I think the two moments I found myself in a showing or performance mode were one where I told myself after it, just that's too much or something. I said, let it go, too much of the old stuff. That was one moment where I thought, our old habits are coming in here, I know what this is. And then the other moment, which I found myself in an image from The House, which is a piece of work I did on poverty at Manchester University, and this is this thing unto you, that for me I was really treading a very dangerous path there, because it involved looking and it was acknowledging you, and that's the moment where it is more theatre, participatory driven than it is in the trance. But for me, I am wrestling in this work because I'm a theatre maker. I'm always wrestling in this work with the audience. Who are we doing this for? You know, and it isn't about doing it for. We are each other's. But because there was a group and there was a circle, those things have come into play.
For me, what could be in this work is one is creativity, and another one is being in the body. But the other one, I think, is like finding the essence of something, which I never had in an orchestral. I just know my little bit in a Mozart symphony, but I'd never have tried to get into the essence of what the piece was. Or I might have learned the melody and then learnt it in the fingers and learnt it all here, and then I just had like a little worm of that little melody going on in my head. So I never kind of got a global sense of the piece or in that. And to me, these are like almost like trapdoors that we can safely pull away on ourselves, and then somehow you can kind of view it from underneath, which I've never really had. I've normally had, you play your bass line, walk from over there, you play your melody, come from over there, you be the conductor, you come from over there, we'll all walk in together and then we'll all meet and then it'll become the piece.
Yeah, well that's a bit like choreography as well, and it's also like the theatre director in the non-conventional. So both classical situations.
And that's the other person on that list of collaborators that I didn't talk about is the director as the killer of collaborator. Because the director directs everybody. So you're just being directed. So it's somewhat like, it's almost allowing it's not only killing off the director in the room, but killing off your inner director. Somehow, which is much deeper and probably harder, which is why we've not even got to the devising stage. We've had 6 months of just trying to be in the room without our directors, that we bring ourselves. It's so like funny to be to try and smash form.
I think what helped us in that, actually, because you were here and we were having to explain a little bit of show and tell, was the inner director, but not telling what to do, but asking questions, like what time is it, kind of thing, or where are, and then it's the first time I've ever known myself use your name in as well.
Normally we don't look at each other a lot at all for ages. We've never even acknowledged each other in the space.
No, it's interesting that the eye contact is an interesting one to think about. But I know when I've worked with groups, I've tried to move people away from that looking directly, because if you look to a third place, it opens up the imagery more. If you're doing this all the time, it becomes a kind of domestic thing. So I often look at you when you're not looking at me, and you never look at me when I'm not looking at you.
But it's not for that reason of that, which is a bit like coming in this morning, normally not saying hello to you all and asking you what your names are and what you do. Trying to avoid that. But sometimes that can be like the reason for being in the room. I'm here. I exist, which is sometimes quite painful and disorientating. So that was me on Zoom. I know, this orchestra would be that. That's the almost perverse, like exaggerated thing. I was in that state for years, just playing my bit, not actually connected to an interpretation or an essence, which had slightly soapbox, but I think that's where really unhealthy practice comes from. Like one of the places is to be so like in something but actually not connected to it, or really, it's like, you know, like my mum and dad, when they ask me, they'll ask me more about who was in the audience or how many people were in the audience or where it was, and it's not their fault. It's something to do with maybe they were thought about for such a long time that mum and dad aren't that into classical music, but it's more about it's more about the event rather than the actual content. And somehow, for me, this is like, oh God, I can somehow get more into the content from here. But it's not my mum and dad's fault. I was doing it myself anyway, you know, because it's not even in the training to kind of try and access something from its flavour. Maybe it is more in dance and theatre, but it definitely is in classical. In classical, it's play those notes exactly right. We don't care how you make the notes. We don't care what you're thinking. We don't care what you think about the piece. We just want you to play the F sharp in tune in bar 34, and that's it. We're not bothered if you're straining inside. We're not bothered if you're on the stage because you want to be something. In fact, we'd like you to be on the stage because you want to be something. Then we can use that as a lever to more bait for you to work harder.
What about for the solo musician?
Well, I think for me that my idea of a great soloist is someone who can totally disappear and become the essence of something, so that the stage and audience disappear and there's a kind of being space. It's a dream I've got of what that would be if I could do it. The worst soloist, I don't know if I've answered your question, Karen, but the worst soloist is I am the soloist, and they're not. I think personally that the molecules of energy in the body, when they're free, can unlock your imagination. My dream is the imagination can speak to the essence of the body, and that will express something that is. Actually, I've probably found it more in dance, like certain types of dance. I've seen it more there. I've seen it more in works of like art, where they're kind of playing with form and abstract. Somehow, when the performance artist is trained, they're trained in such a way, because they are the paint and they are the idea, that they become completely. You just sort of get fucked through the process in a weird way. And it's like going back there, and by this point, you're just jelly. It's a bit of snot. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you like that, you like that, you know. Whereas what I found working with a sculptor is, which is foreign to me, sculptor might go like, I worked, and it was a new thing. So I was working with this sculptor with some kids, and he got that, and he went, just put that there, and then what about that there? And then he'd go, which is probably what this, he'd go, oh, there's something in that. And now when I did that to musicians, they went, what? And if I looked at snot and said, oh, it's this gooey fluid, and what's that, and get that, it's like, there's something about the embarrassing state of being in that state, isn't there? But I'm talking just from classical music point of view. I think you're lucky if you're a musician and something happens to you where you can be smashed at some point, where you can collapse. But I find personally this is very therapeutic for me, because it brings together everything, like body, creativity, imagination, the now, personal life. Those things come into that, whereas sometimes walking in the room with all these unconscious things put in this state, there just doesn't seem to be quite the room for them. Well, everybody just walking in the Arndale Centre or wherever. I suppose we would be dying, wouldn't we? If we didn't have, like, we would get run over. So there's a safe thing, isn't there? There is something to do with, we can't be like, what is it? Zen blobs everywhere. But I mean, but that is like, let your Zen blob come alive though. I mean, but it's quite frightening. When I did the first work with Karen, we looked at some films, it was quite shocking for me to notice things about myself. And it was a bit upsetting actually. It took me a whole year to witness myself really first. And it was only because at home I've got Apple TV and I got the, so it's in the telly, so I'm in TV coma and I'm watching that and I'm thinking I can't be asked doing any creative work. But that film, I know if I just press that, it's on the telly, so I haven't actually got to get out of the way of the telly. But I realised that to properly look at my own self in an interesting way, interested in the content, took a whole year. You've probably done that lots before. But this idea of witnessing myself, it's a bit like when I go with my mum. Like, I got this, my mum's like analysing me when I walk in the room, like on my physical appearance, which I resist. I thought, I'll come in the room, I'll come even more like a tramp next time. You know, it's almost like this. The world can be really obsessed with external, and then somehow, the minute we go internal, everyone goes, "Oh, doesn't make any sense." You know, it just looks to, it's just like, oh, and it's crap, and it's a bit embarrassing. I mean, you know, or in musical terms, my teacher would say, "That's not a very good quality sound. Make a nicer sound." So then they try and make a nice sound. Oh, it's weird, isn't it? It's weird.